Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. I'm familiar with the name. I'm familiar with the name.
Joining me now is a frequent guest of the show, former FBI Special Agent, whistleblower as well, Kyle Seraphin.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public, and we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called The Kyle Seraphin Show. Follow him on Twitter. I'm Sebastian Gorka. I'll call you later. We'll talk guns. We'll talk optics.
Perfect, man. God bless you, brother. Thank you for standing up for the truth, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks. Well, so Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. Great chatting with you.
Kyle Seraphin, thank you.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Good morning and hello, my friends. Today is Thursday. It's October 5th. We are running in towards this Friendly Friday coming up tomorrow, and I've got a special treat for you tomorrow. So definitely tune in tomorrow. We are going to have Steve Baker, the pragmatic constitutionalist, come on, and he's going to join me with Steve Friend. It is going to be a Steve, Kyle thrash fest on federal malfeasance. I think you guys will really appreciate that. He already agreed to come on. He's working with the Blaze right now, and he has been exposing lies, corruptions, you know, the things that happen, January 6th malfeasance, maybe the fact that they set all this stuff up. We all kind of have a sense of it. I talked about it yesterday about looking underneath the skin of the Terminator arm. It's one thing to see the Terminator and think that MFer is not real. And it's quite another to see them peel back the skin and show you the machine working. We're going to try to do some of that tomorrow. So definitely tune in tomorrow's show, again, at 0930 Eastern Time. Streaming live from Texas, America at 8:30 Central Time. And let's see, today we're going to be talking about scandals and laundering them. It's not just for your dirty laundry. It's not just for your dirty socks. It's not just for the shirts that my son, who's 2, gets his smoothie all over and uses himself as a napkin. I don't know why 2-year-old boys think that they're a human napkin. The girls never did this stuff. Apparently, there's a difference between boys and girls. You all will be shocked to learn that. We're going to be talking about laundering this information, and there's a couple ways you can do it. You can launder the operations that are going on within the government. You can spin what's going on and try to hide it from people, and then you can also launder the people that are involved in the scandals and put them back with the patina of legitimacy. So we're going to be talking about all those things. Some very upsetting video clips. Not that they are visually upsetting. They're just obnoxious to hear people trying to gaslight you, the American people. I think we all kind of have the same sensation. Before we get deep into that, let's say thanks to my friends over at Catholic Vote. They do sponsor this podcast. They are the ones who bring me the loop every morning. In fact, as I opened up the loop today, I was like, oh man, I don't even have enough bandwidth to cover this stuff all. The administration is waiving 26 federal laws in order to, you guys are going to be shocked about this. They want to build a wall. Holy moly. The DHS Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, said that there is an acute and immediate need to build a wall at the southern border. Ryan, why would they want to build a wall? I mean, what's going on? I think everything is fine. They have the most secure border in the world. So we've been told. It is racist to build a wall. Walls are racist unless your name is Mayorkas. Alejandro. By the way, every time I go to the airport and I see his face by the TSA, I want to break the screen with my elbows. I want to just start throwing bows. I don't know if you guys get violently angry when you fly, but that's what I feel like. Bill Clinton is calling for some migration controls. They want to stop people from coming into New York City. They want to start limiting the number. Racist. There's so much racism. You guys are definitely going to want to check out the loop today. Go to CatholicVote.org, CatholicVote.org, type in your email address, get the loop, and you can also be supercharged with rage first thing in the morning. Mine comes in at just before 5 a.m. most days. So that's fantastic. And you're going to feel great about it. So let's launch right into this. Americans have been asking this question for a little while. I found a movie clip that actually goes back into, I don't know, maybe my high school days. I think you guys are feeling the same sentiment of these enforcers. You're thinking, Where's the money? If you're at work and you might want to turn this thing down, if you're listening, you might want to turn down the audio because we're going to get a little bit of swearing because we're going to be playing one of my favorite movies of 90s slacker culture. This was post 90s slacker culture. Go ahead and play video clip number 1. We just want to know, where's the money, Lebowski?
Where's the money, Lebowski? You want that money, Lebowski? Bunny says you're good for it. Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Don't fuck with us. Your wife owes money to Jackie Treehorn. That means you owe money to Jackie Treehorn.
Ever thus the deadbeats, Lebowski.
No, don't do that. Not on the rug, man.
See? See what happens, Lebowski? You see what happens?
Nobody calls me Lebowski. You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Your name's Lebowski. Your wife is Bunny.
My wife, Bunny? Do you see a wedding ring on my finger? Does this place look like I'm fucking married? The toilet seat's up, man.
I love it. Listen, imagine if Kevin McCarthy's face was on Lebowski. And Lebowski's the hero of that movie, obviously. Like, we know that. He's the dude, and everybody sort of wants to be the dude. But I kind of want to be the guy in the wife beater right now, and I want to know where the money is. Where's the money, Lebowski? Okay? And I don't care if we got the right guy. You owe money to Jackie Treehorn. Jackie Treehorn is the American people. And you've been giving all our money to Ukraine with your little thing in your pocket, and you're out. You're out in Z. You've been thrown. We don't want you anymore. So, where's the money, Lebowski? I just want to know what you've been doing with it. And I feel like Ryan Maddow might be like the guy Wu who's peeing on the rug. Ryan, would you pee on the rug on behalf of the American people? Let McCarthy know we don't like it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah, that checks out. Okay, so what am I talking about, Kyle? Have you lost your mind? Have you just gone off the deep end here? Do you just not sleep and have a baby and get sleep depo? Nope, that's not about it. Let's bring up topic number 1 because this thing is going to get you guys rocking and rolling. You may have missed this the other day. This came out 2 days ago, looks like, but I was aware of it, and I just wanted to kind of let it sit. A little Bongino rule action there, where we take a breather and we let it kind of take a moment. Here it is. This is Natalie Winters over at War Room. One of Bannon's gals says, former Democrat congressman turned lobbyist Jim Moran just added the Ukrainian government. Wait, what? Where's the... As a client. He's a lobbyist. He has a client that's called Ukraine, a country. And they are paying him $25,000 a month. $25,000 a month as a lobbyist. Are we, the American taxpayers, paying to have ourselves lobbied for more money? That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. In a letter outlining the agreement, the funds say they'll come from a virtually untraceable Ukrainian nonprofit called Ukraine Freedom. I feel like that should be said in a Slavic accent. Maybe we can get Congressman Sparks to come back on here and give us a Ukraine accent. It's like, you're going to get money from Ukraine Freedom. We're going to pay you a ton of money to argue on behalf of the Ukrainian government to get taxpayer dollars from the American taxpayer. Are you cool with that? We're going to pay you American taxpayer dollars to get more taxpayer dollars. This works out really well. Okay, so this is coming from the head of the advisory office. I wish they wouldn't use the word "the." I wish they would just say head of advisory office. I always want to drop out things when you're doing a Ukrainian accent. But this is for the Ministry of Strategic Studies of Ukraine, and it says, we're really happy to work. We're happy to have the opportunity to work with you. This letter of agreement sets forth the parameters of the business relationship between Moran Global Strategies, that's the lobbyist group, and Advisory Office of the Ministry for Strategic Industries of Ukraine, referred to as client. Fantastic. The subject terms of this paragraph, the client will pay the lobbyist, MGS, a monthly fee of $25,000 for services provided. Payments will be transmitted through Ukraine Freedom, which is Ukrainian nonprofit service. They're already telling you they're going to launder it right there. They literally say it in the agreement. Hey, we're going to be paying you, but we're not going to be paying you. It's going to be Ukraine Freedom paying you, nonprofit. Don't worry, no problem. Contract terminated within 30 days, provided notice of first month prior to termination. Okay, this will commence as of 4 days ago, October 1st, and conclude in a year. Guess what? Do you guys know that the government contract calendar starts on October 1st? This is going to be a 1-year government calendar payment. It ends, the last day of the government's fiscal year is September 30th. So fiscal year 2024, as the government is in right now, is going to be paying this money. It's just coming out of the American dollars, no doubt about it. Like, where else would they be getting this? Aren't they fighting a war? Why do they have time to go and do this kind of stuff? Because they're absolutely scared, SHIT-less, because if they turn off the taps, what happens to the money laundering operation? Does it get exposed? So we're going to talk about this a little bit. We got some videos, not just Lebowski videos, although I do love a Lebowski video. We want to talk about what these guys are worried about. They're worried about McCarthy not being in office. You guys remember McCarthy is famous for wearing that pin. He's got the handkerchief. He is all in on Ukraine. He's making backroom deals with Biden, saying, hey, we're gonna make sure that even though we're going to pass a clean continuing resolution without any Ukraine money, we're going to come back and give you the Ukraine money. You got guys like Lindsey Graham saying he's not going to leave it behind. If you watched our show this week, you know they're all in on Ukraine. Are you in on Ukraine? Go ahead and drop that in the comments. Go ahead and drop me a comment about how much money you would like to write out of your personal bank account to Ukraine Freedom. Would you like to send some money to Ukraine Freedom and let people know where they can do so? We can get that address for you. Ryan, you want to start looking for the address? I think we're going to have a lot of takers. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in giving money to Advisory Office of the Ministry for Strategic Industries of Ukraine, aka client. And we need to give it to Ukraine Freedom so they can make those donations. Personal donations, y'all. How much you want to give? Just take a look in your bank account. Think about what you give to your church. Think about what you give to the homeless people that are in your area. Think about the donations you make to the nonprofits in your area that you want to support your community. And then I want you to think about how much is Ukraine Freedom worth to you? It's got to be a dollar amount. I know it's a whole number. You guys who are putting negative numbers in the account, this is unacceptable. We have to get to the multi-billions, the hundreds of billions some way, and you're going to be part of it. The Kyle Seraphin audience is not going to leave Ukraine. We stand with somebody who says we do something about Ukraine, don't we? All right. This is the money laundering scandal that goes on. They launder it through the air of legitimacy. First of all, they'll get lobbyists that are former congressmen. That's really ugly. I think that makes us all want to puke. They sneak it into bills, and you just think like it's a rounding error. It's so much money we can't even fathom. Can you fathom the concept of $1 billion? You can't. So billions of dollars a day or $1 billion a day, it's just beyond human comprehension. It gets outside of the actual thing that we can have any grip on, because how many people actually have a tangible concept of having $1 billion? It's, those people could fit in my house. The number of people that have $1 billion could fit in my house in the world. Interestingly enough, they had to register with FARA. That's the, Foreign Agent Registration Act. There's a FARA registration unit in DC. And, again, Natalie got these documents here showing the FARA registration form. It says registrant will provide strategic advice and assistance to support the Ministry for Strategic Industries of Ukraine within the United States, including representing the ministry's interest to the defense and intelligence industries before the U.S. executive and legislative branches of government. The term is for 1 year. Take a deep breath and think about that. I took a deep hit of coffee from my Catholic vote mug. They want you to, they have to say what it is they're doing. And what it is they're doing is they are representing the ministry's interest in the defense industry and the intelligence industries. Why the intelligence industries? We're going to talk a little bit about what our intelligence industries are doing to us. These are intelligence agencies. I didn't know that you could have lobbyists being represented to intelligence industries and agencies. It seems like kind of a problem. Does that seem like an issue to you all? You want your taxpayer dollars going to lobbyists paying to get intelligence industries on board with the Strategic Industries of Ukraine initiative? Bizarre. Number 9, you have to fully describe the activities. Imagine fully describing the activities of what you're doing for $25,000 a month with a single sentence. Here it is. Provide government relations services and engage in advocacy before the U.S. Congress, administration, and other political stakeholders with respect to the long-term security of the people of Ukraine. When you know that nobody's going to look any further because you use the magical leave me alone, get out of jail card, when you drop the Ukraine flag and say, why? Do you love Russia? Do you sympathize with Putin? Are you a Putin sympathizer? When that's the case, then you leave your full description for $25,000 a month in a single sentence. Pretty gross. Will the activities on behalf of the above foreign principal include political activities as defined in Section 10 of the Act? The Act being the FARA. And the answer is yes. Of course it will. So there you are. They're going to be trying to work on the long-term security of the peoples of Ukraine, which is, of course, the 51st state, which is why we must give it as much money as possible. What other kind of scandals are they trying to run on us right now? That's pretty good at laundering. That's laundering money. That's the obvious stuff. What about scandals about where you take a political office and you use it to attack a former U.S. president who is the chief political rival of your party? Is that going on right now? We know that Jack Smith's doing it in 2 different federal areas. We know that there is that Fani Willis, or Fani Willis, as I've been told it's pronounced, Fani Willis, who is showing her fanny down in Georgia. We had a wonderful interview with a state senator we're going to be bringing to you pretty soon. But it's also going on with Letitia James in New York. You guys know there's an ongoing civil trial right now. I got a couple of videos here. We're going to show a couple things. First of all, I want to say when you start laundering things, you want to show why they are not serious people. And we know they're not serious, but like they tell us every day. The mainstream media is like, how do we get our credibility back? How come people don't listen to us? Why are they going to Bongino and Seraphin? And why are they going over to Bannon's War Room? Why don't they listen to us? Here's why. Throw up topic number 2. If you do the update photo, there's a tweet there from this guy named Ari something or other. What's Ari? He's an MSNBC correspondent with The Beat. His name is Ari Melber. And so this is how he's going to present it to his audience, which are leftist loonies. He's got a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter. And what does it say? The Beat with Ari Melber. That's his show on MSNBC. It says Donald Trump outside the court versus Donald Trump in the court. If you're not watching our Rumble channel, what you are not seeing is that Donald Trump is very, very angry, and he's giving a speech outside of a courtroom, and he's saying words with his face contorted into a whatever word he said. And inside the court word, he's kind of looking dour. His shoulders are kind of slouched the way that kind of Donald Trump sits when he's listening to someone talk and say things that he can't say. Has anyone here ever been inside of a courtroom? Ryan, you ever been in a courtroom?
Yes, sir.
You ever just scream at the judge and just like let him know how you feel? You ever just like, you give it to him? Is that a thing?
Can't say I have. Can't, no.
Yeah, it's a good way to go to jail, right?
Absolutely.
You could be held in contempt if you act out in a courtroom. So this guy is trying to act like this is some sort of, he's taking his lumps while he's in the courtroom, but he's out there yelling, but he's just full of it. Like that's what they're trying to present. They're trying to present that the guy is out there screaming when he's in public, but he's beaten by the court because the law has really got him down. No, everybody does this. It doesn't matter if you're a mass murderer. The only people that scream out in courtrooms end up in jail for a very long time. You don't need to get on the wrong side of a judge. By the way, he's in a bench trial, right? So he's got a judge. We've shown the judge. He essentially looks like the crypt keeper, although he was thawed out and put on with some spectacles. The crypt keeper is his judge. And, elected Democrat as well. And he's the guy that you need to not piss off. So 1, you don't go to jail for contempt. And 2, because he's the one making the decisions out there. 80% of this case has already been thrown out, but that doesn't stop them from running the spin. Let's listen to Donald Trump, the man who Ari is acting like is yelling outside. Let's listen to him outside the courtroom. Then we're going to get a little follow-up from Letitia because we like to cover both sides of it. And we're going to keep moving on here. So let's do video number 2 real quick and let people hear what Donald Trump said. His own words. Why not?
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew anything about me. She used this to run for governor. She failed in her attempt to run for governor. She had virtually no polling. She came back and she said, well, now I'll go back to get Trump again. And this is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the actual net worth. The actual net worth is substantially more. No bank was affected. No bank was hurt. They don't even know why they have to be involved. And they've so testified. They can't believe that they're involved because they were paid back on time. There were no defaults. There were no problems. And it was like a perfect client. In the meantime, people are being murdered all over the sidewalks of New York. There was no victim here. The banks were represented by the best, biggest, most prestigious law firms in the state of New York, actually in the country. Some of the biggest and best law firms, in all cases, the biggest and best law firms. That's who represented them. The banks got back their money. Again, there was never a default. There was never a problem. Everything was perfect. There was no crime. The crime is against me. because we have a corrupt district attorney, but we have a corrupt attorney general. And it all comes down from the DOJ. They're totally coordinated this in Washington because I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by 10 points. And I'm leading the Republicans by 50 and 60 points. That's pretty much, they say, over. I never accept that, but they say it's over. This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell. We have a country that's in decline, serious decline. We have a man running our country who has no clue, doesn't know what he's doing, and you know it better than anybody because you have to cover him.
That's perfect right there. So does that seem like an angry man? Oh my God, what are you putting the Crypt Keeper on there for? I don't need that. That caught me off guard. I thought I was going to see Ryan up in the top corner of our screen, and instead we've got this this judge who just looks like a smiling skeleton. Look, is that an unhinged man? He's doing the Trump thing. That's what he does. He gets out there. Man, we need Sean Farish to come up and do the thing. He's like, they looked at other records. The records were perfect. I had the best records. There's no victims ever. In fact, they thought I was a perfect client. But he's right. Like, who's the victim in this? What is the attorney general? There's an opportunity cost for the attorney general getting out there and doing anything, right? She's got to go out there and say not only why she's using all the taxpayer dollars to go do that. In my opinion, she ran for office. She's using New Yorkers' money to go after a man. And who's the victim? What is the crime, that is affecting New Yorkers? And in the meantime, as he stated pretty accurately, we saw a guy get stabbed to death in Brooklyn yesterday on the show. And interestingly enough, apparently that guy was a violent Antifa activist. At least he was violent in his rhetoric. He obviously isn't violent in person. But New York is a tragedy right now in so many ways. It should be the great American city, and instead it has just fallen. It's tumbled down, and they're wasting their time on this. So you got guys like Alvin Bragg going after him, and they've got the attorney general coming after him in the civil case, and so who's the victim? Honestly, Trump is the victim in this case, and so are the American people, and so are the people in New York, in my opinion. We're gonna play what Letitia James, who every time I hear her name, Letitia James, I always hear Sean Connery from SNL, and he'd be like, the penis mightier. He misread all the stuff, and he would screw with the fake Alex Trebek. I always hear the name, and I mispronounce it in my head. Her name's Letitia, but I always hear him saying like Letitia. All right, let's do video number 3. This is bullies are going to be bullies, folks. But here she is. She tweeted this out today with the caption, "I will not be bullied." Really? You're not going to be bullied? President Trump has zero political standing anywhere. He does not have a political office. He wields zero power of any state at this point. And yet the attorney general, so one of the most powerful, entities in one of the most populated states in this country, has decided to come after him. But she's not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. It's gross, but let's listen to it anyway. We need to hear both sides. Go ahead and run it.
Trump's comments were offensive. They were baseless. They were void of any facts and/or any evidence. What they were comments that unfortunately fomented violence, and comments that I would describe as race baiting, and comments, unfortunately, that appeals to the bottom of our humanity. This case was brought simply because it was a case where individuals have engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And I will not sit idly by and allow anyone to subvert the law. And lastly, I will not be bullied. So Mr. Trump is no longer here. The Donald Trump show is over. This was nothing more than a political stunt.
Where was the political stunt? Was it the bringing of charges? Was it the fact that she ran on the fact that she was going to charge Donald Trump? That seems like a political stunt, I would say. You ever see people that are acting? We did it the other day with Scott Pelley. Scott Pelley, who's sitting there with one cheek on and one cheek off. He's Scott Pelley, and he's just telling you how things are. Scott Pelley does a lot of acting. He's a better actor than Letitia James, but Letitia James is a total actor when she's doing this. How many times did she practice that speech in front of the mirror? And did she have parenthetically the word sigh written when she took a sigh? The people of New York will not tolerate this sigh. It's gross. You can see it. And the other fun thing is to watch their body language. Some of you guys watch these clips without any sound. That's the right way to do it. I see it on Twitter all the time. It'll scroll up through my feed and I'll watch it and I'll go, oh, look at that lie. You can see it because they go like this. She's like, this. I'm saying these words, shaking my head. I don't believe what I'm even saying myself. I can't even help it because I don't believe it. It's a deniable thing. Human beings have some body language they can't get away from, particularly when they're crappy actors. Or actresses, which I don't know if you're allowed to say actress anymore, but I almost wish that she would have just had like a little tear, like one tear, a single teardrop, not a tattoo teardrop like she killed somebody, although she would probably like to do that too for someone like Donald. But wouldn't it be nice just to see like a single solitary tear tracing its way down, the sad Indian tear, just right down the face, because she's making this up. She's fake emotion all over you. She can't help it. She's just giving it to you that she's just trying to defend the American people from this bully Donald Trump who has no political power. Kind of wild. Let's talk about bullies, because right now, Matt Gaetz, who I think is a suspendable in many ways, he has stepped out. We played some really good clips of him yesterday. You listen to him. My dad and I had this conversation. This is probably sharing a little bit of inside baseball, so my dad may even hear this. But we shared this conversation last night, and he said, when you look at Matt Gaetz, there's plenty of reasons why people could look at him and go like, I don't want to like Matt Gaetz. He's like a guy that you could look at and not want to like. And I could see why that is. He's got like a lot of forehead and a lot of hair and a lot of personality, a lot of teeth in his smile. Like he's a louder than life kind of person, but he's also really smart. And you can tell he's smart when he speaks, when he grabs his words and wrangles them together, when he goes out there, and some of it is performative, like we showed when he was talking out in front of the Congress. Like that's a performance. You're giving a speech, you're giving a performance. But when he's sitting there on Timcast 8-9 months ago, from that thread that you can find on Twitter, he's just a guy, wearing a windbreaker, talking to Tim Pool and just breaking it down like a regular guy in an articulate, intelligent, and I think very honest way. Watch his body language. It feels honest. It seems honest. He's just sharing things that he believes are true. He's not selling you something. He's just a guy sitting there. He's also a little bit less made up. It's a little bit less slicked back. He looks kind of dressed down. I want to see politicians like that sometimes. I just saw it in the chat over here from Mitch Sklock. He just said, boo all you want. Exactly right. In real time, they booed him, and he was like, boo all you want, because I'm going to raise money for my constituents, because he serves the constituents. That's what it's supposed to happen. So you can see how he's taken flack. And we talk about it here on the show sometimes. You know that you're over the target when you are taking flack, right? So let's play a couple of people that had to take flack, that rather sent flack down the way, and then also had to take flack on his behalf. We're going to be playing a little bit from Tim Burchett, who I think did a really good job handling just this garbage from Brian Kilmeade earlier. But we're going to play the bullies that are going after these guys. This is going to be Newt Gingrich, kind of a scion in the firmament of the Republican establishment for the last, probably 40 years. So let's play what Newt had to say. It is a funny name. Let's play Newt's take, because he is really mad at Matt Gaetz and the Gaetz 8, they're calling them, for standing up to McCarthy and saying no more money for Ukraine, which seems pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and play video number 4 here and hear what Newt has to say about this. He's very upset.
96% of the Republicans voted for McCarthy. 4% voted against him. From my position as a longtime Republican activist, they're traitors. All 8 of them should, in fact, be primaried. They should all be driven out of public life. What they did was to go to the other team to cause total chaos. We ought to be focusing on Biden. We ought to be focusing on the economy. We ought to be focusing on the border. Instead, you're going to get a week or 10 days of the media focusing on Republican disarray. It's an astonishingly destructive behavior by a handful of egocentric people who think they're superior to 96% of the conference.
I don't think they think they're superior there, Newt. I don't think that's what's going on at all. I think what you just quoted was 96% of the Republicans in Congress vote against what probably 80% of Republicans in the country think. And that is not the same thing. That's how you launder it. That's how you kind of bury what's going on. You said, well, all the elected representatives believe this thing. Yeah, really? I think Matt Gaetz told us yesterday exactly how that goes down. You sit down, you get welcomed to the Congress. Congratulations, Congressman. You now have some power. We'd love to have your voting card. We'd like to have your vote. And what we'd like to also do is introduce you to some people that are going to raise you some money. Look at these people. Oh, you want to be involved in fill in the blank industries? Just lucky for you. We just happen to have those industries right now. Why don't you try a steak? Why don't you have a glass of wine? Why don't you enjoy some of the perks of this new job you're about to have? Because if you do it right, you could be here for a long time and it would be very comfortable for you. Yeah, that sounds like a slimy sales job. Or you can go out there, you can say boo to you, boo all you want, and you can raise money from your constituents. Matt Gaetz is representing where the people in the Republican Party, the people that are going to be voting in the primaries feel, I think, based on a lot of anecdotal evidence, people just being out there in the world. Nobody wants to throw money at Ukraine. Like none of you do. In fact, we got a couple hundred people sitting in the chat at the moment. Why don't you give me a thumbs up? Yes, I want to send money to Ukraine, or a thumbs down. I don't think that the Republicans did their job and McCarthy has to go. The thumbs down means no more McCarthy. Why don't you just send me some thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat, because we'll take a look at that in a second, and Ryan will scroll it across. It's actually kind of staggering. It's the gaslighting, but what they're trying to act like is because all of the elected representatives that are captured in this thing, we all kind of despise it. These captured people have all decided to do what they do. There's your thumbs down. They're popping up right now. Okay? They've done what they think is best. Matt Gaetz did what the people have told him. Matt Gaetz is actually making himself available in Twitter Spaces for you. I mean, you can see Matt Gaetz talking. There's my thumbs. Look at him scrolling. So here's the deal, folks. Who's the real traitor there? And by the way, that's some pretty charged language. Ryan wants to put a thumbs down too. I saw you, Ryan. I saw you. You're trying to tilt the vote here. So let's see how you can always see how these people want to back it up. Let's do video number 6 next. Let's play Glitch McConnell, because Glitch McConnell, who has no say in this, he's not in the House, just like Newt is not. He wants to back McCarthy, and he stumbles through his speech. Luckily, he doesn't have a reboot in real time on national television. But let's give Glitch a little chance to say his piece about what he thinks, because I really need to know how Glitch McConnell feels about another swamp creature. It's turtles all the way down when you have Mitch McConnell. Go ahead and play video 6.
I'd like to start by thanking Speaker McCarthy for his service. We had a great personal relationship, trying to lead two very different parts of the American government.
God, it's so hard to listen to him.
To be proud of. We avoided a government shutdown. We did the inevitable with regard to the debt ceiling, and I'm one person who's extremely grateful for his service. I have no advice to give to House Republicans except one.
He does have advice. He has none, but
the next speaker is gets rid of the motion to vacate. I think it makes the speaker's job impossible, and the American people expect us to have a functioning government.
That's good right there.
On the Senate side.
On the Senate side, you're almost dead and you should resign so you don't have a stroke on the floor and pull like a Dianne Feinstein. Like all these people that are so ancient. That's the only part of our show that you're going to have to watch in like 1.5 speed, because Mitch McConnell speaks like he has all the time in the world, even though his hours are numbered based on just the way that he presents himself. The man is 1,000 years old. It needs to stop. If you guys love Mitch McConnell, just give me that turtle there in the chat. I don't know why. I want to see some emojis, but I like the turtle emoji that someone threw up earlier. Mitch McConnell is he doesn't have any advice for the House, except he does, which is that you shouldn't allow people to remove the speaker. I love it. Let's disrupt it. Like I said, no one for speaker is my hashtag. No one, hashtag no one, the number 4 speaker. Why? Because it's disruptive. Because we have been seeing the same thing for at least 50 years. It probably goes back even further than that. You can go back to the failure that happened at the Administrative Procedures Act in 1946. And ever since then, Congress has been trying to shirk their job and wrangle more money and do less work. There's my turtles. Turtles. Slow, slow, slow it is. Turtles all the way down for Mitch McConnell. Guys, it's really gross. It's gross to see this guy out there. They're all standing behind him. And then if you can't get enough of the pundits talking that are kind of the guest hosts, and if you can't get enough of the people that are actually in office, you might as well get the actual news anchors, the people coming in. This guy never seemed like, I've never been on Brian Kilmeade's show, so I don't have any personal animosity, but this seemed like a pretty ill-founded attack. Let's do video number 5. He's going after one of the Gates 8, Tim Burkett from Tennessee, and he's attacking him for praying for discernment. Man, how great would it be if all of our Congress people took a moment and said, look, this is a tough vote for me. It's a difficult decision, and I'm going to be praying for discernment. In fact, I'll go do it out on the steps of the Capitol. And you can join me as well, because I can, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my midst, there am I, right? That's what we heard from the New Testament. That's what Jesus says to his followers. So how about people pray for discernment? We could use a little bit of the hand of God guiding this country right now. Instead, you're going to get attacked by Fox News, by these sort of shameless hacks. Let's go ahead and play this real quick. Video 5. I think he does a really great job.
What do you think it's going to do for the Republican Party and chances of holding on to leadership in the majority when it looks like you're the ringleader of a circus led by Matt Gaetz, who likes to blow things up but not offer any new ideas? Are you happy following Matt Gaetz? Is that your leader?
I'm not following Matt Gaetz. I made my own decision. I didn't ask Matt.
But if Matt Gaetz didn't challenge, you weren't going to challenge.
Do what?
If Matt Gaetz didn't stand up, you weren't going to challenge. You know that.
I believe I would have.
Oh, come on. please. You were praying about it 1 minute. The next minute, you're going to lead an insurgency?
So you don't think that praying about it's important? Is that what you're saying?
One minute you're
that's what you're
praying about how you're going to vote with Matt Gaetz. And the next minute you're going to lead an insurgency?
Listen, you got a predetermined answer to everything. I
have an opinion about what's going on. Do you have an opinion too?
And you talk over me every time I try to make a point.
All right, make your point.
The point is that we're $33 trillion in debt. This speaker was woefully lacking in leadership skills. He always placed the blame somewhere else. America is going to be better off with new leadership, and that's the bottom line.
And who is it?
It possibly could be Steve Scalise. It could be Elise Stefanik. It could be Roger Williams out of Texas. It could be Mark Green out of Tennessee.
So they all supported Kevin McCarthy, including the most conservative guy I know, Jim Jordan. Why are you smarter than Jim Jordan and the 210 plus Republicans? Why are you smarter?
I represent my district, brother. And why are you smarter than me? You're condemning me because I stand up on my own, and that's
I'm not
what
condemning
I do.
you. I'm questioning you. You don't like being questioned?
The line of questioning is very negative, and you know that, and I know that. When this is all over with, and we have a new speaker and we're running smooth, let's have this conversation again.
Were you happy with John Boehner?
I wasn't here with John Boehner.
Right. With Paul Ryan?
They're both rhinos. I mean, they're not in my camp anyway.
Oops.
But I wasn't here when they were here.
So you had 15 yeses.
Shut this down. That's great. Yeah, look at that. So what does he say? If you look at Brian Kilmeade in that too, by the way, he's breathing real heavy. You can actually see it if you watch the clip. You guys can rewind it, or maybe Brian will show it with no audio. But he's breathing really heavy. You can actually see his suit rising and falling because he's emotionally invested in this questioning line. He's attacking. Just watch him as he starts going further and further into this. He starts punting, and those eyebrows. Somebody commented on. If you like Kilmeade, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And if you don't, I think I'm Duquette said it the best. Like, just the puke emoji is my favorite. It's nauseating to see these people trot out and attack a man. He's making fun of him for praying. You just heard him do it. He's making fun of him for things like John Boehner and Paul Ryan, who Tim just called rhinos, which was outstanding. It's so good. But the funniest thing for me is that he wasn't there during that time. He's just like, I don't know. I didn't vote for them. That wasn't part of my thing. I just, and also there's something pretty nauseating for those of us that are in the suspendables camp. And I know Garrett and I agree, man, if you're going to call Jim Jordan the most conservative guy, okay, bro. Tell me more things. Tell me more about how you're sitting in the establishment. There's all our puke emojis. Brian Kilmeade is not going to be stealing any of our audience today, I guess. It's pretty incredible. If you have not seen the discussion, there's some Twitter spaces that I've been out on with Steve Friend. I know that Garrett will come on. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow, maybe. Steve's maybe even limited at this point to talk about it. But we're talking about a guy, Jim Jordan, who's now being floated up. Steve Scalise is fighting cancer. I actually think that people like that should resign from Congress. I'm not mad about them being there, but honest to God, if you are focusing on your health and you're of a certain age, like you're over the age of, like, let's say 55, and you're fighting a health condition that could be fatal, why are you trying to represent me? Like, that is a full-time gig. And I don't know. I don't need you there. I don't want you there per se. Figure it out. Find somebody else to do the job. Like, this country doesn't need people clinging to power when they're dying. I think Dianne Feinstein should be a harbinger of what it looks like. You die in that chair. It's just the saddest thing in the world. And Glitch McConnell doing the same exact deal. Like, I just don't, like, nothing against Steve Scalise. I'm sure he's a wonderful man. People have said really nice things about it, but he doesn't need to be fighting cancer and trying to be engaged in, like, one of the biggest tumultuous political times, and possibly, avoiding the violence that could be coming for this country, which is very real. Like, you'd be a fool if you don't think that's a possibility. And if you're out there fighting cancer, like, fight cancer, man. That's a full-time thing. Do that. Very, very sad. I don't know. Jim Jordan is not the most conservative guy I know. Do you know how many times Jim Jordan has called me? Although I've given them, every single time you see him talk, what does he talk about? Attacking radical Catholics or radical traditional Catholics. You see him talking about parents at school board meetings. You see him talking about the different abuses of the FBI. Almost everything that he's been running on and has been masquerading out there came directly out of me or my camp. Me and my buddies. We all exposed this stuff. And we went to Jim Jordan's office because they're the ones. You know how many phone calls I've got from Jim Jordan? Anybody? You want to put it in the chat how many phone calls you think I got? I'll let you. I won't reveal the surprise, but put on your not shocked face how many times I've heard from Jim Jordan. It's troubling. And then let's get to the biggest story of the day. We've got about maybe 15, 20 minutes left. I want to spend all of it on this. And man, the biggest story of the day comes up It's from yesterday. It was made known. It actually kind of did it kind of weak. This is topic number 5. So Ryan, you could throw this thing up there. I'm going to start reading to it. Folks, we're going to end up reading almost all this story. This came out of Newsweek magazine. There's a reporter, he's the senior editor over there named William Arkin, and dropped this thing first thing in the morning yesterday. Not surprising to many of you, but I'm getting calls about it. I'm going to be talking to Dan Bongino about it later on today. I'm going to be talking to Emerald Robinson. Looks like I'm going to be on Vince Colonnet's show in DC, so we'll hurt some feelings out there. It says exclusive, Donald Trump followers targeted by FBI as 2024 election nears. Put on your scared and shocked face. I'm not saying. Everyone says 0, by the way. 0 times has Jim Jordan called me. That's correct. No times at all. And his staffers, basically, every time I send him something, they just kind of ignore it. Here's the story. Ready? Let's just read it out. The federal government believes that the threat of violence and major civil disturbances in the 2024 presidential election is so great that it has quietly created a new category of extremists that it seeks to track and counter. Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. Let that sink in for just a moment. We'll take a deep breath. The challenge for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the primary federal agency charged with law enforcement, it's actually an intelligence agency, as you guys know, so that's incorrect, is to pursue and prevent what it calls domestic terrorism without direct reference to political parties or affiliations, even though the vast majority of its current anti-government investigations are Trump supporters, according to classified data obtained by Newsweek. What I think is so amazing, and we're going to talk about it just one second here, but it says, quote, the FBI is in an almost impossible position, says a current FBI official who requested anonymity to discuss highly sensitive internal matters. Are you telling me that my former colleagues are now going to the news media for their whistleblowing, that they are going to Newsweek and not Congress the way that we were supposed to do? The things that Garrett O'Boyle and I got removed from, the thing that Steve Friend got called out for, doing things the right way. We are calling this thing out starting in 2021. You can go back 2 years and see that this was part of the problem. I brought this up in my initial discovery and my initial disclosure to Yvette Harrell's office in October of 2021. This is a 2-year-old story that we brought up. And the story is, and I'm not doing an I told you so, what I'm saying is this problem is not brand new. This problem has been coming down the line for a while. And it was obvious to me when I got moved over to the National Security Squad, which I did in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I was seeing that they were going after this group that are called agaves. Anti-government, anti-authority, there's a slash in there, anti-government, anti-authority, violent extremists. You'll be shocked to learn that those things are far more innocuous than you think, and the word violence is just the idea of violence, not the actual accusation of violence. That should bug you in a big way. The official said that the FBI is intent on stopping terrorism and must repeat and any repeat of January 6, 2021. Really? You guys think that January 6th could happen again with what we know now? Man, it was a perfect storm of a lot of things going on. No way does a January 6th happen again. Certainly not that way. If it does, it's going to be a lot more ugly. It's going to be a lot more violent, and it's going to be a lot more widespread than just people trying to get into the Capitol carrying flagpoles and maybe some bear spray and some knuckled gloves. That's not going to happen again. The Bureau must also preserve the constitutional rights of Americans to campaign. No. The Bureau doesn't get to preserve constitutional rights, folks. The Bureau is forbidden from invading constitutionally protected areas, including the First Amendment areas, which is the freedom to speak and protest to the government, which this does actually state. The FBI always does this. They walk right into First Amendment protected liberties, and then they put out what's called a caveat. It's on every single investigative document. It's on every single intelligence product. It's on the Catholic memo. You can see somewhere on there, they will have a First Amendment caveat. And the caveat just says, hey, we're not allowed to go into the First Amendment protected areas. And then, that means that we're doing this for other reasons than the First Amendment. We're not basing our investigation solely on the fact that they said this thing. It's because of this other thing, but it's not. It's made up. They are laundering it. They absolutely launder the information by claiming that they're not going into First Amendment protected activities, but in fact they are. Or they'll cite Second Amendment protected activities, like, oh, this guy owns a gun, and that makes him dangerous. False. Unacceptable, federal government, and people who work for the FBI that have taken constitutional law and are sworn federal agents should know better. By focusing on former President Trump, we're going back to the piece here, his MAGA supporters, the official said the Bureau runs the risk of provoking the very anti-government activists that terrorism agencies hope to counter. Wait a minute. Are you saying that by acting in an unfair way and showing that the government is actually the problem, that the anti-government types are going to say, hey, you've done the thing that we said, and then that's going to actually give rise to terrorism? Wow, that's pretty ugly. That's actually the FBI's counterterrorism directive. What do? They go out there and they find people who are saying something. They encourage them. They provoke them. They fund them. They introduce a confidential human source. They introduce an undercover agent. We've seen it in Gretchen Whitmer, but that was just because he was going after one group. They've been doing this since well before I got into the FBI. They've been doing this for probably at least 20 years, certainly since 9/11, maybe before then. But most of the agents I dealt with came in the early to late 90s. So there was no time that we were going to see before it. But I'd be shocked if they hadn't been doing this for a very, very long time. Provoking the thing that they wanted to see. Many of you guys know this kind of stuff. Those provocations happened by the ATF at Ruby Ridge, right? This is the reason why Tim McVeigh was so pissed off in theory. He went out there and bombed Oklahoma City. Terrible action, not the right thing to do. Kind of understandable. Kind of like looking at the Unabomber. He was seeing a lot of bad things. He chose the wrong course of action, but I don't fault his math. He was a math genius, actually. So my buddies who are FBI agents that are kind of anti-government types, because that's the people you really want in the government, people that think the government needs to be contained. They would wear things that would say Uncle Ted's cabin, and it has a picture of Ted Kaczynski's cabin. For what it's worth. I think that's kind of funny too. All right, here's another quote from the official, especially at a time when the White House is facing congressional Republican opposition, claiming that the Biden administration has weaponized the Bureau against the right wing. It has to tread very carefully. Really, FBI person that's talking to Newsweek? Really? Yeah, but you're definitely an apolitical organization, right? Isn't that what they're saying? Wow. Just big time wow. We're going to keep reading this thing because this stuff has been out there in the public. Steve and I have been talking about it for quite a while. We'll get some more talk about it tomorrow. Newsweek spoke to over a dozen current or former government officials. Not this guy, by the way, just in case you're wondering. I didn't get a chance to comment on it. I would have given them a lot more information than this. These people are hiding. They are trying to launder this scandal. The scandal is that the FBI knows that we've been reporting on it. And we have a small microphone, but it is starting to catch some traction. They better get out ahead of it, and they definitely are. I've been saying it for a year on purpose, and now the Bureau is aware of it. They need to make sure that they have the patina of legitimacy, and they are doing this Newsweek piece. These are the things that I think you should know. We know somebody got walked out over the police state movie. We know somebody got thrown out of the FBI's building. Someone I've never met, I never heard about. I don't know anything about them. They just, the Bureau is doing a witch hunt internally. They are purging again. And the reason they're doing that is because they were absolutely terrified about what we are exposing. Every time you see one of these, spoke on condition of anonymity for not losing their jobs, I would almost bet a full month's pay that those people are actually approved in an unofficial channel to do what they're doing. They are giving an official, unofficial statement, and that they are doing so with the permission of the senior Bureau leadership. Why? Because they are trying to slant the argument back towards the FBI does the right thing and they're just a political pawn, not their fault. They are trying to cover for the agency. They are laundering the scandal in the same way that the money goes into Ukraine and comes back out to American lobbyists so that it can go back to Ukraine and come back to American, politicians and so on. I'm just saying. Let's look at it. They spoke to over a dozen former government officials who specialize in terrorism during a 3-month investigation to understand the current domestic security landscape and to evaluate what President Joe Biden's administration is doing to what it calls domestic terrorism. Most requested anonymity because they were not authorized to talk publicly. Yeah, honestly, no shit. Of course they weren't. Did any of these people lose their jobs? Are they all going to be polygraphed and lose it? Absolutely not. Is Garrett O'Boyle accused of doing this thing that he never did? He is. Here are these guys out there. Go at him, witch hunt. Go at him, FBI. I want to hear all 12 of these people that have been removed and had their security clearances permanently suspended. That's what I expect to hear next. You guys can expect to hear crickets, though. They were reluctant to stray into the partisan politics and feared the repercussions of speaking frankly. Newsweek also reviewed secret FBI and Homeland Security data that tracks incidents, threats, investigations, and cases to try to build a better picture. And while experts agree that the current partisan environment is charged and uniquely dangerous with the threat not only of violence, but in extreme scenarios, possibly civil war, we're talking about it here because it's true. Many also question whether terrorism is the most effective way to describe the problem. Oh, really? Interesting. There's some disagreement inside the FBI. I've been told that you need to root these people out, or that the methods of counterterrorism that were developed during the past decade in response to Al-Qaeda and other Islamic groups constitute the most fruitful way to craft domestic solutions. Ain't that something? But we talked about it in a podcast I did 11 months ago called Mission Creep. It starts, I'm going to give it to you in a very straight line. It's very straightforward and easy. It's simple. You start with the idea that there are international terrorists, they are overseas, they want to do damage to our house, to our home, to our republic. And so you go and you fight them overseas and you fight them domestically. And then you realize that they have some contacts that are people that are sympathetic to what they're doing, and they are called homegrown violent extremists. Those are U.S. citizens, U.S. permanent residents, green card holders, and so on, that are also affiliated with Al-Qaeda, with ISIS, with Al-Shabaab, with other Islamic extremist organizations, or other terrorist type activities. They could be Marxists, they could be part of the FARC for all I care. It doesn't matter, in Colombia or something like that. So once once you have those are called homegrown violent extremists, or HVEs. Now you go after them. You're going to run out of them too, in the same way you run out of international terrorism. And when you run out of the people that are overseas, and you run out of the people that are the domestic, that are associated with the overseas, you start looking at people that are domestic with domestic ideologies. And that's how you get to what they've called originally militia violent extremists. You'll remember that because we exposed a document showing that the FBI had tagged people who had the Gadsden flag, and they had the Betsy Ross flag, and they had the 1835 Gonzales battle flag. You saw Ted Cruz slapping his boot up on the desk and yelling at Chris Wray about it. The Punisher skull, the Second Amendment, Ashley Babbitt is a martyr, these kind of things. All these things could make you a quote unquote militia violent extremist. You saw that. They went after patriots like Mike Glover, who's a Green Beret. He's retired, right? An honorable person, someone who served and did some contracting work for the CIA, runs an American business, pays Americans, pays big taxes to keep people funded so they can keep a roof over their head in Biden's economy. They went after Mike Glover because he started something called the American Contingent, which is simply a way that you could connect on locals initially with neighbors who had a generator, who had some food storage, who had some capabilities for medical treatment in the case of an emergency around you, whether it be a local or a man-made, whether it be an environmental or a man-made disaster. That's what Mike Glover wanted to do. And they called him a militia group, mostly online with a low history of violence. A low history of violence, but not no history of violence, even though no history of violence is accurate. Because they're not a militia group, and there was no violence from the American contingency. And anybody that got violent, which we've reported on, was outed and exposed and referred to the FBI. Okay? So they ran out of militia violent extremists. That didn't take very well. We actually pretty much diffused that. And I told you guys about a year ago, this was coming. Anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists. You know, like the founding fathers in the United States of America. People that don't like the way the government is treating them and think that the tea goes into the harbor. If you're someone who said, yeah, the Boston Tea Party was correct. You know, Crispus Attucks was a martyr for the American Republic. If you think that, then maybe you are an agave, an anti-government, anti-authority, violent extremist. I know many of you are. You can throw agave in the chat if you guys like. I've seen it earlier today. This is the kind of things that are the problem. If you say, give me liberty or give me death, that sounds like violent rhetoric to me as an FBI intelligence analyst who sits indoors and is scared of people, but spends a lot of time crawling through social media looking for extreme MAGA Trumps. And of course, we exposed some of this stuff when Steve and I helped rewrite the script for Police State, which we did. I'm going to take credit for it a little bit. They sent us a script and we said, you can't say some of these things. That's not the way it would sound. This is how it would sound in the actual FBI. Let's use real words. I actually want you guys to be able to hear it. So I will play Nick Searcy, who's a friend. You can follow him at Nick Searcy on Twitter. Great guy. Really had a lot of fun working with him. A professional in the acting craft, fun to watch and fun to work with. And what did he do? He adapted and overcame and gave you a pretty accurate picture, I think, of the way that some of these people are actually functioning and working. And before we do anything else, I want to say, go look at Garrett O'Boyle's shirt company. You know, like I said, we talked about him just a second ago, about him not having access to an income for doing the right thing, for what these people that are talking to Newsweek are doing. And so you can find his website. I've had my friends actually text me and call me in the last couple of days. Hey, where can I get one of those hats? Hey, where can I get one of those shirts? This is the shirt that I've got in front of me right now. So I'm going to show you guys what the real shirt looks like. The-suspendables.com. Go to the-suspendables.com. I saw B Cancella in the chat said that she just got her stuff. They're getting pins. You guys are getting your shirts. So this is what they look like. But look, this is not the Civil War. This is the Revolutionary War sort of agave stuff, right? Here it is. There it is. Suspend or die. You guys know this flag. Okay. It's the different pieces, the original colonies. Either they get together, join or die. This was the thing. We say suspendable or die now. And if you'll notice, there's the badge. There's the badge right there. The upside down badge, because the FBI is an agency that's under duress. It's under duress because there are people in there that are going after Americans and they know it's wrong. And they're slightly thinking out, but they are laundering this scandal because they are going to get burned. They are going to absolutely get burned on it. So check out Garrett O'Boyle's website, the-suspendables.com. You can actually use promo code Kyle right now. We set it up just for you guys, just to track where it's coming from. Use promo code Kyle. You get 10% off any of the things. 2 of those shirts, I think you get free shipping. So that's the way to do it. Or get a shirt, get yourself a pin. We got the pins sitting here on the desk too. Where are they? There they are. The pins come in a little baggy like this. They're awesome. They really look great. They look awesome in a suit. They're big enough that people know what it is and they go like, whoa, what is that? Start wearing those things out. You let people know that you're suspendable too. You're willing to do the right thing and get canceled. I just had one of our canceled nurses from the FBI's field office in Miami reach out to me this morning and check in. So, and kudos to you, Amy, for standing up and doing the right thing as a medical professional. Look, this is what it's at. So here we go. If you'll bring that up one more time, Ryan. It says the current political environment is not something that the FBI should necessarily be responsible for, and it's not responsible for it, nor should it be. says Brian Michael Jenkins, one of the world's leading terrorism experts and senior advisor to the president of the RAND Corporation. Oh, the current environment is not the FBI's fault. I disagree. When you go out there and you do the things that we told you was very Nazi-like and you continue to act like Nazis, then you're responsible for the Nazi regime taking over. That's the way it works. I'm going to use those words because those are exactly what happens. I had a conversation with Miranda Devine about this yesterday. We were discussing the fact that the FBI coolly and casually decided to just walk through the door and do the wrong thing. And they didn't think twice about targeting people like you, listeners to this podcast, honestly. Here's what the statement from the FBI is. These are my favorite. These are always so full of government garbage. It says, quote, the threat posed by domestic violent extremists is persistent, evolving, and deadly. Ooh, I can't make my eyes need to roll further into my head. The FBI's goal is to detect and stop terrorist attacks, and our focus is on potential criminal violations, violence, and threats of violence. Anti-government or anti-authority violent extremism is one category of domestic terrorism, as well as one of the FBI's top threat priorities. I told you guys this last year. It's been coming for a while. The FBI further said, quote, we are committing to protecting the safety and constitutional rights of all Americans and will never open an investigation based solely on First Amendment protected activity, including a person's political beliefs or affiliations. Pardon my language, but bullshit. Absolute bullshit right there. There is no other way to say what that is. Sorry, I hope that didn't get you fired at work. There is no other way to say it. And the White House declined to comment. Trump campaign was given an opportunity, but also did not do so. What the FBI data shows, quote, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country, said Joe Biden. Man, is being a Donald Trump supporter or a MAGA Republican, does that make you a violent extremist? Yeah, according to these people. According to our current president, who runs the executive branch, and the executive branch is backing him all the way. All the people in the executive branch, in a way that never happened under Donald Trump, by the way. That's also worth noting. They never backed Donald Trump this way. He never had the support of these executive agencies. Biden's Homeland Security Advisor, Liz Sherwood Randall, said the use of violence to pursue political ends is a profound threat to our public safety and national security. It is a threat to our national identity, our values, and our norms, our rule of law, our democracy. Democracy. You know what, Liz? I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And that's why the FBI can't be doing it. We need to disarm the FBI, as Steve Friend said. There's no question in my mind that the FBI, who uses violence to pursue political ends on behalf of the Biden administration, is a profound threat to our public safety and our national security. It continues to do so. It undervalues the people that walk the thin blue line, real law enforcement professionals, people who are actually police, and it does secret police work. And secret police are the most scary and dangerous thing that happen in the United States. We have never had one before. We definitely have one right now, and it cannot exist if we are going to have a free democratic republic. We don't have a democracy. So even the president's people don't even know. They've probably never read the Constitution. They probably have no idea what the Declaration of Independence said. It declares that we shouldn't be doing this and that we have the duty to throw off such tyranny. And we do it so by speaking and protesting and raising our voices and telling our government that we have a peaceful redress of grievances that we are requesting. Can't we do that? Maybe not. Maybe not in this country. Not if you are considered an agave. And it's not all bad. I know we're coming to an end here. I want to tell you, it's not all bad. Play video number 7, because this is how people respect this talking point driven media, this stuff that is laundering government secrets and laundering government talking points. What do we think about them? They think about video number 7. This is actually pretty funny. Go ahead and play that for me.
And we've got Tyrone on the phone with us now. Tyrone, when you say poker game, what exactly happened? What transpired?
Well, first we'll all get together every Tuesday night, and we watch Tucker Carlson's show on X. We used to watch him on Fox News. Obviously, he's not there no more. And still being the most credible guy in the media in America, we always get together to watch Tucker Carlson. And I think he's doing probably better now that he's not with Fox News, because the corporate media always controls what the teleprompter readers are able to say. And now that he doesn't have that hand.
Thank you, Tyrone. Maybe we can work to get Don back on the phone, Tracy. We can get that. Clearly, that was not a student at Morgan State University.
Oh, that wasn't a student. Just trolling Fox News Live because they're so desperate to get content because they suck. Good riddance. I did a poll the other day. It was 96% of you said Fox News is dead. That was not a real Tyrone, probably, but he did tell you exactly what Americans think, which is that this is garbage. We are not buying it. We're standing with people like Tucker Carlson. We're standing with people like Dan Bongino. We're standing with guys like Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend, and they're standing with people like Kyle Seraphin. You guys are standing with me because everybody looks at it and goes, you are liars. You guys are liars. And by all accounts, guys like me shouldn't even have a platform anywhere. But because of the grace of God and because of your willingness to hear it, you're getting real news from people that are not part of the quote unquote establishment. And they don't know what to do with this. You know, think about this. I went public a year ago and most people's stories die. And that's not what's happened. And I think that we are at a turning point in this country. Ryan and I talked about red pills and white pills and black pills. We'll do it another day, but this is too funny. We shouldn't be standing, but we are. And so all of our thanks goes to you. And a lot of our thanks goes to the fact that I think God's hand is in the world doing these things. It keeps us alive. I know Garrett would agree with me. I know Steve would as well. So join us tomorrow for Friendly Friday with Steve Baker, another guy that is doing God's work out there in the world, that is exposing truth, regardless of who it hurts and what feelings or toes we step on. We don't care. And that's what this show is about. And that's what the Suspendables are about. And that's what you guys are about, I think, too. So thanks for joining us for the Kyle Seraphin Show. As you know, we stream live from Liberty Hill, Texas. It's a good hill to die on, the Hill of Liberty. That is some violent extremist talk coming directly from me, who definitely has a 266 Oscar case opened at the FBI, probably some counter intelligence cases as well. Folks, we love you guys leaving us our 5-star reviews. They're all over Apple. We're going to put a couple of them up today. There's 2 of them. One of them came from Me Punk. It said, honest, love Kyle's honesty and knowledge. Thanks for that. That was a short one. Here's a little bit longer one, and I'll read this to you. Yeah, there it is. There you go, Ryan. You can show both up there. We wanted to do 2 because it was only a few words. And the second one comes from, looks like MLC Russell, if I'm reading it correctly. It says, a great podcast. I heard about you via Dan Bongino. I really appreciate the insights you offer on the sad state of affairs, which has become our FBI. If you're a political junkie who wants to understand why the government is not working for you anymore, this show is for you. The Kyle Seraphin Show, 5 stars, 5 stars. Thanks so much, MLC Russell. We appreciate it. We do the show for you. I'm going to be on Dan Bongino's radio show. I will be there at 1 o'clock Eastern time. If you guys want to hear me a little bit more today, you can do that then. And I really appreciate all of you guys joining us in the live chat today. Our numbers are just crushing it. Month on month, we just continue to grow because of you, because of those 5-star reviews. You can follow the links below in the description of the show and leave us one. We've gotten rid of the ads on the audio. So if you're listening on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, we hear you. We got rid of that garbage. We hope you appreciate it because we really do appreciate you. Share this stuff in audio format, people. That's probably where the biggest audience actually still is. You can share it on audio on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And we stream live every day during the week, 9:30. Here it is at rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin, where the live chat is. Follow Ryan Matta, M-A-T-T-A, Ryan Matta Media on Twitter. Folks, we will see you again tomorrow with Steve Baker and Friendly Friday. Have a great and blessed day. Hang in there, you anti-government violent extremists.
Thanks for listening to the Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.